Hellebores are some of the toughest plants that you can grow in your shade garden. And today I'm going to show you how I propagate my hellebore plants from seeds. The very first hellebore I ever purchased for my garden is a beautiful light yellow hellebore called Gold Finch. These plants are great in partial shade. They're deer resistant and they come in a wide variety of colors. And even though the flowers look exotic, don't be fooled. Hellebores are one of the first plants to bloom in the spring, and oftentimes they're blooming before the snow melts. Hellebores will bloom for quite some time in the garden, and they make great cut flowers. Not all hellebores will actually set seed, but my hellebore Gold Finch does, and so this season I definitely want to take advantage of growing the seedlings so I can propagate more plants. So this season I'm making sure that I'm taking advantage of the fact that my Gold Finch hellebores go to seed. And you can see here what the little baby seedlings look like. So this spring, I want to make a point to dig the seedlings up, put them into pots, and make sure that I'm actually helping them to grow into mature plants. I have a funny story about trying to grow hellebores from seed. So when I found out you could grow them from seed, I was really excited. And you can see here what the plants will look like. So the seeds form inside the carpels, and then eventually when the seeds are ripe, those carpels will open up and the seeds will be expelled onto the ground. So I was trying to keep a really close eye on these plants because I wanted to collect the seeds. And I kept looking and looking, and then the next thing you know, when I went to check one day, all the seeds were gone. But luckily for me, the following season, I had a bunch of little seedlings that had grown from where the seeds had fallen to the ground. So that's when I realized the best course of action here is just to let the seeds drop on the ground naturally. And then the following spring, I'm going to go and collect the seedlings and make sure that I'm helping them to grow into healthy plants. And the thing I love about this story is that once again, it proves to me that, just letting nature kind of take its own course a lot of times ends up being more productive than, trying to interfere with nature. In this case, my my Gold Finch hellebore went to seed, and now I'm able to enjoy these baby seedlings. Another thing that I learned is that most of the varieties of hellebores that I've purchased for my garden actually don't go to seed because the variety is sterile. So that's kind of something I'm keeping in mind now because I really enjoy the idea of these plants going to seed and helping new plants grow. And so when I look for new varieties of hellebore, I am going to try to look for hellebores that will go to seed in my garden. So the technique I'm using isn't really very complicated. You can see a close-up here. So these are the little seedlings, and I'm just making sure that I'm digging them up with my trowel, and I'm trying to make sure that they're very loose and I don't damage the roots. And then I'm going to just place them in some potting mix that I have, and I'm placing four little seedlings inside each one of these 4-inch pots. And I'll keep them really watered, and obviously I'm going to, as they grow larger, I will put them into bigger pots and pot them up and then place them back in the garden. So once I have them placed in the pots, I'm going to water them in well, and I'm actually going to leave these pots outside. I'm going to put them on my patio and leave them outside because, as you can see in the garden, these seedlings are, they're growing now outside when it's cold. So I'm not worried about it getting cold at night and that kind of thing. What I'm worried about now is just making sure that I collect as many seedlings as I can. Because the other thing that I love about this too is I went to the garden center this season and I was shocked to see there were hellebore plants for sale for $50 a piece. So it does take 3 years before a hellebore seedling is going to flower, but at $50 a pot for plants, it is definitely worth trying to cultivate these plants from seed. And you know what? It's just a lot of fun. Now, the thing to mention here is that hellebores are notorious cross-pollinators and likely won't come true from seed. But for me, I'm just excited to grow new plants and to see what they grow into. And it will take a hellebore about 3 years before it will actually flower. And it's just going to be fun to see what they end up blooming like. And I just love this kind of thing. And planting up these seedlings is really part of what I want to really focus on this season as well, and that is trying to propagate my own plants as a way of saving some extra money. It's also possible to just let your seeds fall to the ground and, grow around the base of the plants like you can see here. These plants here are a couple years old. These are a couple-year-old seedlings. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to move them away from the base of the plant and thin them out a little bit. So I'm just digging up a few of the bigger plants here, and this will give the seedlings a better chance of growing into healthy plants and without crowding the parent plant. And here's a close-up view of the larger seedlings, and you can see they've got a really healthy root system, and they're just looking really great. And so I'm using the same technique here. I'm just using my hand trowel and making sure that I dig deeply underneath the seedlings so that I'm not damaging the roots, and then I'm just kind of pulling them, tweezing them out a little bit, and then placing them inside of a pot of potting mix. And I will water these up and put these on my patio with the other seedlings. If I tried to germinate these seeds myself, they probably wouldn't grow nearly as well as they did after just being flicked into the garden and growing on their own. So, as usual, nature is awesome. Yeah, and I don't know how you guys feel, but I absolutely love growing plants from seed and watching plants grow into bigger plants after they're just little baby plants. And so this is just such a fun activity. So I'll be sure to keep you updated on how the seedlings are growing. And that's it for this video. Hit me up in the comments below because I'd love to know if you grow hellebores from seed. And thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.